In the city of Malton, crime is at an all-time high, with murder, robbery, and corruption ruling the streets. With the public demanding results and an end to crime, a task force was created to combat these vile criminal elements as they continue to plague the city. The squad was responsible for capturing the city's most wanted criminals, and we always got our man. The public called us the Crime Busters. The squad was led by me, Detective Jim Reed. Most people call me Noire Reed. And in today's series of the Noire Files, we look at this delusional creature, a gang leader who believes he's the reincarnation of King Henry VIII. This is the story of Savalas Pleasance Gray, known to the world at large as Henry VIII. King Henry, Case File 9. Real name, Savalas Pleasance Gray. MO, kills people using the methods of the medieval ages. Age, 29. Victims, unknown, as we have not really have a full confirmed one. He is of average height. He weighs over 150 pounds. He's a really large fellow. He has brown eyes, red hair, formerly brown. He is alive and is in the hard time medical facility. Like I said, we'll get to his story. Childhood and upbringing. Savalas Gray was born into the Gray family, one of the city's most wealthiest and oldest families. His family has ties to England, and they are very eccentric and old school. They are what you might say your classic British family living in America. He was an academic student, and eventually he graduated and left Malton City to go to Harvard, where he graduated with the highest of honors. He was only 21 when he did. He became a doctor and then a teacher. He would later stay to teach at Harvard. Now, during his time at Harvard, and what we've gathered by reports, he was a nice old man, basically a nice man. He was a bit of a class clown, but he was always very good to his students. He always encouraged them to pursue whatever it is. He mostly taught history, particularly the medieval times, especially the Tudor era, which he had a huge love for, and was very fascinated with the life of King Henry VIII. Now, though he was a very smart man, he always encouraged his students. He always had a thing of sticking by his not just superiors, but his colleagues. Even when they were in the wrong, he always stuck by them. He would gladly call out on what they did wrong, but he'd always stand by their side, even through the darkest of times. Now, one day, there was a school riot at the school, courtesy of a scandal involving the dean, who was your old school white racist asshole. Now, during his time there at the university, there was a protest with demands for him to resign. Although everyone knew that Savalas would agree with the students were right, they knew that he would stand with the dean, not because he feared them, but because he always stood by, he was always with his colleagues and would always support him no matter what. Now, next thing to happen in the riot, well, this is what happened according to a report. What happened was during the riot, someone threw a brick through the window, resulting in hitting on the good doctor's head, and he was put into a coma. He was sent back to Malton City to recover and to spend time with his family as soon as he got out. His family pull some strings. His criminal career wouldn't begin until he woke up out of his coma, and when he did, he started acting strange. Eventually, he started to slowly believe he was King Henry VIII, and that Malton was to be his new kingdom. since he could no longer go back to, in his delusional mind, he could no longer go back to England and retake the throne. So as a result, he wanted to pursue this career, but there was one problem. He needed to erase all trace of his previous life. So he came home and killed all of the members of his family. He stole the family fortune and dived headfirst into the city's underworld. Now for days he continued to recruit small-time hoods to his organization. The organization was called, the court, courtesy of his, let's just say bizarre MO. He started to dress up like King Henry VIII, and that's how he really earned his nickname. And that's how he earned his nickname, King Henry. And you have his goons dress up like they were from the Tudor times. They may have not liked the costumes, but they didn't mind because they loved the pay. And he actually paid them better. Most of his recruits actually came from the Reggie mob, led by this guy, Oliver the Nose Reggie. He was a British gangster who came to America and formed his own mob, and he had a lot of ties with the board. Now, as weeks went on, King Henry essentially made his presence known in the underworld, and eventually he began to attack several prominent members in Reggie's organization. As because he was British, and he was technically a British king, it fit his psychotic obsession. Next thing you know, he arranged the execution of 7 of his, of Oliver's most powerful, members of the organization. His mob attacked Reggie's mob at their hideout. This is how the story went, from our eyewitness.
Hey, Mike. Quiet, Trench. George, is that you? Hello, boys. Something I can do for you?
Yeah, you can shut up. I'll line up, all of you. Face that wall.
You, over there.
Come on, move.
No way. You two.
All right, you two, let's go.
Listen, Buster. You better be kidding. Move. Nosy flat-feet. Wait till you hear about this downtown. Move, boy. Hey, you. You on the car. Let's go.
Sir, I'm just a mechanic here.
Let's go.
All I do is work on the automobiles. I don't know
Move.
what to do with these people.
Come on, move. Hands on the wall. Lean on it.
After that gangland execution, Reggie's mob almost completely fell apart, and the majority of his rackets went to King Henry. With taking over a criminal organization, he then turned around and set his sights to take down the board. Now, we came into the story when Oliver came to the crime busters and told us that he had lost control of his mom and was taken over by some strange character, whom he described as a man-child. And although he was crazy and acted basically like a kid in a grown man's body, he was, well, a real villainous character and a real weirdo. He actually thought he was a king, and not the type of like a gangster king, like a legit English king. So we made a deal. If Oliver agreed to cooperate, we would agree to give him immunity from prosecution, along with what's left of his organization, if he helped us bring down this bizarre weirdo, as we were getting reports of gangland killings that looked like or imitated the old English countryside. You know, the old English medieval times. Dan, we brought Dan in, of course, to finalize the deal, and, well, we struck a deal. He told us that his base of operations was a medieval restaurant called, well, the Feast Lounge, as in where great banquet feasts, and he would be there all the time. Me and Brett got in our car and went to look the place over. There we were greeted by this bizarre man. It was literally a man-child, such as, I remember this story he would tell, remember this, what he did when we got there. He would threaten us, but then also act childish when one of his hoods would tell him that he couldn't, and he would go back trying to mimic their voice like a child. I'm sorry. He don't worry, don't get me wrong, he was villainous, but he also made you crack up. Anyway, that stopped when he ordered us to kneel in front of him because he was king. But we ordered him to raise his hand to give himself up. The king didn't like that, and that he didn't take orders from common people, and told us that one last chance to kneel again. We did. Next thing you know, a sword fight broke out.
Such impudence, Your Highness. If I could only reach him. Stand back!
He won the fight, but King Henry escaped. Now, with nowhere else to go, we turned to Oliver and asked him would he know where the king would be in hiding. And he said he wouldn't know, but he just remembered that today was a special anniversary at the Soft Boys Bar, as this was the day that the board, the 5 major criminal organizations that run the city, was formed, and the most notorious gangsters in the city will be there. Basically, if you were there, you had some value, or at least some power within the underworld. So yeah, we realized that must be his target. If he could wipe out all the gang leaders, King Henry would take over the underworld and rule it. We thought that he would be psychotic. I mean, no one would dare do that. But we realized he was crazy. He could do it. He could pull it off. So we quickly ran to the bar. Me, Britt, basically every one of the crime busters, Pete, Taggart, Billy, Axel, you name it. We all quickly got our guns and drove over there as fast as we could. And as soon as we got there, we managed to quickly get there, and when we did, we came face to face with basically King Henry and his entire crew. And there was one last fight between us and him. I went after Henry.
Did I upset your plans? You come to Nottingham once too often. When this is over, my friend, there'll be no need for me to come again. Your sword, Gisborne. You know any prayers, my friend? I'll say one for you.
When I managed to get the sword out of his hand, well, King Henry looked around. Most of his crew had already been apprehended or killed, and he saw that he had lost, and guess what the king did? He ran out the door, screaming like a child. But when he ran out the door, he ended up getting hit by a car, and he was quickly taken to hospital. When he got to the hospital, well, he was in a coma for a few days, but when he woke, he remembers that he was really Savalas Grey and didn't remember at all about his alter ego. When we told him what happened, everything, he thought that, we must be crazy, but sadly we weren't. He went in almost to a weird state. Basically he was sane, but he just couldn't grasp the mistakes he did, or what he did, the killings he did, the murders. He literally just... I feel very sorry for the doctor. His criminal organization fell apart without him, and Reggie's mob resurfaced and reclaimed control. Dr. Gray was sent to hard time, particularly the medical wing facility, to receive treatment for his mental state. Hopefully, the evil persona will be gone, but only time will tell. But for now, another criminal is locked up, and another case is closed. And I, Noire Reed, head of the gangbusters, call this case closed. Join us next time as we tackle another criminal in the Noire Files.